Hello, everybody. It's me, Ross, and I'm joined by Andy Warren. As today we discuss and get Andy's thoughts on the players he thinks that could thrive under the new boss, Kieran McKenna. Andy, thanks for joining me. First name out of the hat. Which player do you think will thrive under the new management?
It's a clean slate for everyone, isn't it? We hear it from every manager, and there will be 20, 30 players up at Playford Road hoping that they can catch the eye of Kieran McKenna at the start of another new era. But the first one I'm going to pull out the hat is Luke Wolfenden. And he's probably the one I believe in the most firmly on this list. We haven't seen much of Luke for the last 3 months. I think he's made one league start in those kind of 3 months that before Paul Cook left. And we've been used to him being a regular in the team. For me, I think he's a player that McKenna could really like. He's got some of those, I'm going to call them Premier League academy traits for a centre back. He's got some of he's more comfortable on the ball than some of the other Ipswich central defenders. He's got a calm head, and he glides around the pitch quite nicely. I don't think he's not rapid in terms of speed, but I think he's quicker than he looks. And for me, he's got the traits that McKenna might like. George Edmondson clearly is going to be the first name on any Ipswich manager's team sheet right now, I would have thought. And I think McKenna will probably be the same, but I would say there's very much a vacancy alongside him, possibly even two if Town continue with the three at the back they used against Sunderland. I think for Wolfenden, by his own admission, he had a below par season last season, and he's not had a chance to get going in this one. He's still got plenty of improvements to make in his game, but there's going to be a high level of coaching on offer at Ipswich at the moment, with McKenna coming in, and if he can tap into that, if he can latch on to McKenna and take the steps that he needs to make at 23, then I think he could really benefit from the new manager. We've not seen anywhere near enough improvement on the pitch for senior players through coaching in recent years. Now would be a perfect time to change that, and I think Wolfenden could potentially be one that takes advantage of it.
That's a good shout. And of course, Wolfenden saw all his friends go. Downs left, Dazelle went, a lot of his Tristan Nydam. So it's an opportunity for him to really thrive under McKenna. And of course, he's a big Man United fan, so I'm sure he knows a bit of McKenna and stuff like that. But what's the next player then?
This is more of a group of players rather than, and there's a couple of these to come up. This is a group of players that I think could thrive, and it's the players that have kind of been schooled at the very top. We know McKenna's coming from Manchester United, where he's worked his way up the youth setup to the first team there, did a good job in the youth setup at Tottenham as well. And while he was at Tottenham, he worked with Kane Vincent-Young and Tom Carroll, who are, of course, in the Ipswich squad now. But it's not just them. I think you could add Bersant Salina to this list. Obviously, he came through the Manchester City system, and in some ways, you could put Raheem Harper and Kyle Edwards on here as well. I'll get to one of them in a bit more detail in one of the other sections. But for those players, they're going to have the traits that McKenna likes. They're at varying points of their progressions with Ipswich. Obviously, Vincent Young and Carroll have had injuries, but clearly have kind of those academy traits that McKenna will be familiar with and will like. This is a bit of an unknown voyage for McKenna now. He's left kind of firstly left the safety of kind of Premier League academy football and everything that means, and he obviously was well beyond that at Manchester United, right in the firing line with the first team, but he's left that now for League One. So I think he might find a bit of comfort maybe in some of the Premier League schooled players that he encounters at Portman Road, and maybe they could kind of hit the ground running with him and see where they get to.
Yeah, definitely. Tom Carroll is the one that I'm looking forward to really seeing more of. When he has played, he's impressed me. So hopefully he gets the opportunity to thrive. Has he got 1 year contract? So...
Yeah, just he needs to be fit, Ross. That's the thing that's holding Tom Carroll back. He just needs to be fit. If we like you say, we've seen him, haven't we? We've seen what he can do. We just need him to be fit and have a real chance to show it. Because if he can't stay fit, he can't impact these games. So get yourself fit, and I do think that McKenna could use him quite heavily.
Definitely. Get fit, Tom. We look forward to seeing you on the pitch. The next player or the next players.
I'm going to pick out one of those that I just mentioned. That's Raheem Harper, who for me feels a bit lost. He's a bit lost at Ipswich at the moment. He arrived as a highly rated midfielder, obviously, who during pre-season described himself as a midfield beast. But then when he was playing alongside Lee Evans, it was in the opening month or so of the season in those holding roles in Paul Cook's team, he struggled. He didn't look right in those positions. Then he was becoming a bit part attacking midfielder, showed a few sparks from the bench, but when he was starting in those positions towards the end of Cook's time here, again, he looked lost. He was really absent from a lot of games, which passed him by. But he's still only 21. Looks to have the right attitude. He's a positive person. Obviously, he's got plenty of talent, and he's one that could be reinvigorated by a new boss, I think, because we've seen the Morsey and Evans partnership was a very firm one under Paul Cook, and there are obvious reasons why that was the case. Cook trusted those two. They'd done it for him before. They'd delivered for him time and again before. But maybe the door's a little bit open now for some other midfield players to make an impact. And same with Wolfenden, he's another one that if he can kind of latch on to the coaching that should be on offer for him, then he could find his way a little bit. But right now, he just looks like he's not sure what he is. Ipswich aren't sure what he is, and just looks a little bit lost. Hopefully he can get himself back on the right path.
That is the hope, because I'm a big fan of him as well. When he has played, he does look a bit lost, but he's got that potential there. He's got the young, he's very young, like Wolfenden. They're still so young, these players, but they're now going to get to a point where they need to play week in, week out to show their potential. But yeah, come on, Raheem, get in there.
Wolfenden's at a funny place, isn't he? He's 20. Well, going back to him briefly, he's 23 now, so he is young. He started his Ipswich career a little. I'm going to say a little late. It was still young, obviously, when he started, but obviously he had his loan spells out and in non-league and then with Swindon before coming back and making it. He's at an important point now, Wolfenden. So I know that's circling back to the start of this video, but he's one I would really, really like to see take a step under McKenna, because we know he's got the ability.
That's one thing when it's exciting, when a new manager comes in. As you said, it's a clean slate for everyone, a chance for players who haven't been in the first team picture for a while to come in, show what they got, and hopefully get into the first team again. Up next, who's up next?
So another little mini group. I'm afraid it's the hungry strikers. McKenna's spoken of his desire for his teams to be aggressive and to win the ball back as high up the pitch as possible to allow the team to start playing from there. And that should be music to the strikers' ears, really, particularly Bon and Norwood, who love putting themselves above. When they're at their best, those two, and they're not, you don't always see this from them, but when they're at their best, they're really aggressive and they like to hassle defenders, and they do like to try and win the ball back high up the pitch. They've started together against Sunderland, and it sounds like that's something they both enjoy. Maybe we'll see that going forward, but whether it's both of them together or just one, the striker's going to have an important role to play in that kind of quest to win the ball back. They're the two that I think could do that the best. Whether Joe Piggott's quite up to that, I don't know, but he may well show a different side to him if he's given the chance to do that. But all three of those strikers in particular should really like the sound of the roles that they're going to be asked to play in McKenna's teams.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to Norwood scoring the goals again as well. Macaulay Bon getting back to his form earlier in the season. So, yeah, hopefully they will thrive. Okay, the next name.
Last one, left field, left back, left out in the cold, and a long shot. Miles Kenlock cannot play in league football. He hasn't been able to play in league football since August. He was left out of Town's 25-man squad, I think it was, for EFL League One games, and hasn't been able to play as a result. We've seen him kind of return briefly in cup competitions, and I'm not going to sit here now and say that Miles Kenlock is the answer to Ipswich Town's left-back problems, and I think there are some left-back problems. Obviously, Hayden Coulson, we haven't seen or heard of from him for a couple of months now, it feels like. Matt Penny's been up and down. Bailey Clements has had a go at it. It's an area I think they'll look at for recruitment, but that's not going to happen on January the 1st. And from January the 1st, they can make changes to this EFL squad, I believe, which would mean that Kenlock could potentially come into it and at least be an option to McKenna, which would represent a definite fresh start for Miles. We know Miles Kenlock, we know his strengths, we know his weaknesses, and we probably know that at some point another left back will be brought in. But for him, right now, it might just be a little chance just to either prise the door open for a future at Ipswich in some capacity, or at the very least, be involved again and give himself a bit of a showcase for elsewhere. So maybe a forgotten man like Miles Kenlock could potentially come in from the cold, and an even more long shot, I'd chuck someone like Louis Barry in as well. Louis Barry hasn't started a league game since August, and he hasn't played at all since November. And it wouldn't be a surprise at all if on January the 1st we're hearing about him being recalled and loaned out elsewhere. But you never know. McKenna might throw him in these first games and might like what he's seen in training. You never know. Again, it's not one I'd be putting my mortgage on, but if we're talking fresh starts, there's two players there that need one. Otherwise, their time at Ipswich is done.
Yeah, we shall see. Definitely on Miles Kenlock. A new manager, another chance for Miles. We shall see. But Andy, thanks for joining me. Thanks everybody watching. Let us know in the comments down below which players do you think can thrive under McKenna, and we'll be back for some more videos very soon. Catch you then.